Hi, it's Wendy Hernandez, attorney and creator of Command the Courtroom. Well, we are at video 7 of my 7-part series with my client Carlos, who was able to successfully get equal time with his kids. And in this video, he's going to talk about new relationships and his viewpoints on new relationships and how his new relationship has impacted his parenting and his relationship with his ex. So I will see you after. On the subject of significant others, this is a hot button for a lot of people. You know, they separate and eventually somebody's going to find somebody new, right? One or both people, and usually not at the exact same time. So usually somebody's going to find somebody before the other person does. And I believe in your case that your ex found somebody prior to you. But it can cause a lot of drama. If you're the person who's, not yet moved on, or the exes, and they're causing drama for you because they're mad about the new girlfriend. So do you have any, thoughts or advice on navigating the world of new relationships when you're trying to co-parent? And
I think the best one that I've learned is that whatever happened in the past, you got to leave it there. Number one, and you really got to get right with yourself, which means like a lot of people for some reason, a lot of people don't like admitting their own fault in whatever situation happened. And I think that if you don't own up to it, you don't grow. And that's why you made the mistakes, because now you're growing, and then you meet this new person. In my case, it was crazy because I didn't feel worthy of meeting my now wife. I felt like, due to all the bad choices that I made and all the mistakes I made, those were all weighing really heavy on me. And I didn't realize that I was still a good person. And she was able to bring out, to remind me, hey, and even when I didn't see it within myself, I didn't I didn't value myself, or I didn't really love myself. She took the time, and I was pushing her away. I didn't want to be with her because I felt that maybe I didn't deserve to be with somebody like her, and all I was going to do was wreck her. And I was afraid of that. I kept telling her, if you get mixed up with me, everything I always do, it always ends up bad, and I don't want it. You're such a good person. And then she reminded me and stuck it out with me and said, well, I'm not going anywhere because I've been out there and I know what's out there. And she goes, you by far are the best thing I've ever seen. And she's like, and you're a good person. He goes, just because you made bad decisions doesn't mean it defines you. And I think when you find somebody like that, you better hold on to them with two hands, because that was something that I was truly afraid of. And I know men or women maybe sitting there, and my biggest fear is why I stayed with my ex, and why maybe I didn't move on after, everything was over, and I didn't want to get with somebody, is because my biggest fear was I don't want to allow anybody to pick up my child. I don't want to have anybody yell at my child. And I don't want anybody to mistreat my children because of something that I did. And the complete opposite happened. The most wonderful person I could have ever met. My kids love her. My son is in love with her, probably more than me sometimes. And for her, my daughter too. My daughter always confides in her. And the beautiful thing is that I think if you find the right person, they acknowledge their place in your life. And my wife, in this case, she came to my daughter and said, hey, I'm not your mom. I never will be your mom. I don't want to take her place, but I'll be whatever it is that you want me to be. And I think that validated my daughter's heart and knew that, okay, if I only wanted her to be my friend or my best friend, then that's what I can allow her to be. And she's okay with it. And I think that is really helped our relationship with not just me and my wife and my kids too. And I think you have to do that. You have to find somebody that does that brings out the best in you and is very, very content with themselves and has worked on themselves. Because if you don't get right with yourself and you don't go fix yourself and acknowledge all the mistakes, I guarantee you'll be sitting watching this video again in a different situation. And if you do put the time into yourself, just think of it as an investment into your kids and to yourself. You're going to end up with a wonderful relationship like I have now. And it's unfortunate. Sometimes it gets me a little sad. Everybody has feelings. Sometimes I think about it's a little sad. When I do see my daughter sad every now and then, everyone has feelings, but don't be afraid that that's the end of it, like of you. Don't let that define you. Like you can go out and be a better person and redefine yourself, pick yourself up off the ground and put good people in front of you. And you'll realize like that, that everybody makes mistakes and you can get through this. And like, it doesn't matter financially, those things sort themselves out. And it might sound like I'm not giving specifics. No one gave me specifics either. And like, I was worried about my retirement, my house, this, that, and the other, car payments, all these things, they all got sorted out. And I'm living here. I live comfortably, married happily. We have a nice little home, like, and I live close to my children. And like, that's all I could ever want. And you might have to make some sacrifices. You might have to downsize on your house. You might have to give up some of those big material things. And I can tell you, speaking from experience, I had it all. I made a lot of money. I had a side business where I was making tons of money. But the moment my daughter came to me and said, do you want to go play in the backyard? And I looked at her and I was about to say something. She says, I know you're busy. You got to go work on your business. And that's when I realized like, it's not worth it. Mm-hmm. So you better stop now and help them grow up, be a part of their lives. And because whatever you plant now is what you're going to get in a few years. And if you want a good, healthy adult and someone that, contributes to people's lives, you better start to put in the work now, because someone else will do it and they might not do it the way you want to be done.
That's right. Well, I got chills and I feel like I need to shut this off and just go pick up my daughter, but I have one more question for you. Talking about, getting good with yourself and forgiving yourself. And I'm a big believer in self-love and self-forgiveness, because I feel like, if you don't love somebody, and I know this is very deep, some people might consider it woo-woo, but I think it's real. At least it has been in my life. There was a time when I didn't like certain aspects of myself for whatever reason, and I had a lot of self-hatred, and I was attracting people who were reflecting that to me, and mistreating me in the same way I was mistreating myself emotionally. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, I know that you've done a lot of personal work and I've done a lot of personal work. So talk to me about counseling, because you've mentioned it a couple of times. I feel like there's a stigma associated with counseling. People feel afraid of what other people are going to think if they say, I'm going to counseling, or it could negatively affect them in their case. So what is your viewpoint on that?
In my field of work, like it's something that could be looked down upon, but I can tell you, from doing it just maybe 2-3 years ago, the stigma is gone. Like when you tell somebody now, at least amongst people that I have surrounded myself with, they don't look down at that anymore. Like a person that is very open and has shown a lot of growth, they've either made mistakes or they've gone maybe once or twice. In my case, I did a very intense, and I knew that I needed to get down to the root of the problem. And I think that if you get, one thing that my counselor did teach me too was like, if you go to a counselor and you're kind of, you get this feeling like maybe you're in the wrong place or you're talking to the wrong person, he said, and he was so good about it. He said, get up and go find another one. Find one that feels right to you, because every person has a unique fit to somebody, and sometimes their style might not be what you need. In my case, like it was crazy because I talked for like, several weeks, and then he finally talks to me and stops me and like has like all these notes and everything. And he says, hey, it's okay. And I was sitting there like, okay, like what's okay? He goes, it's okay. It's not your fault. And he proceeded to tell me like everything of what I had said to him and like what it was related to and how to get beyond it. And I'm telling you, it is the most uplifting thing. It may sound simple. I know people used to look at it as, oh, that's a weak-minded person, or that is someone that's ill. Or let me tell you, even the strongest, like I was one of those hard people to crack. And let me tell you, when you lose your kids or you lose something that's so dear to you, you better take a good look at yourself, because you're going to also put inadvertently, whether you know it or not, if you don't get yourself right, you're going to start putting it on them. And then that cycle just continues.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I love that. That's great advice. And I appreciate you sharing. I mean, there's so much more we could talk about. I mean, on any of these topics, forgiveness and boundaries and counseling. I mean, I think we could spend hours on each of them,
Yeah.
but, I'm happy that you could join me and give the listeners a little taste of, your experience and what you've learned from it and the wisdom that you have to offer and how you got here, which leads me into another topic. So just, I know right now you're working a full-time job and but you're going to be retiring within the next couple of years. And what are your
Yes.
plans after that? And how are you going to go on and help people going through what you've been through?
I don't know, like me and my wife have talked about it a few times. We've talked about being like advocates for fathers' rights and like helping people like go navigate like this process, maybe not from an attorney standpoint, but like sometimes you need people like in the middle, because once you get to an attorney, I think pretty much you kind of already got everything somewhat together, and you already like, it's kind of like, I won't say too late, but it's kind of the finality of it. And sometimes to get there, to facilitate all those things, you need help because sometimes you don't know where to start. And I know like I've been, asked by you to speak about like my life experience on how I got here. And I think it's something that warrants to be told. It's from childhood abuse to some of the best most memorable years of my life to like now looking at my parents and like looking at them with like complete respect and awe in what they accomplished with so little. Instead of like judging them, I said like how did they get us to this point? And I think all the things like the problems that I did, the broken relationships, I mean, we're talking even back to grade school when I was, a really, really disruptive kid to like now I can reflect all of that. And maybe somebody might have a child like that they really don't know what is causing that or how they got there. Like maybe some of my experiences and like a lot of the things that I saw could help change somebody's life.
I think so. I think so. And I think that just by the fact that we had this conversation, you're going to change people's lives and change their attitudes. And you already changed people's lives in your everyday, and you're changing your kids' lives. And the kids are the most important thing. So I really thank you, Carlos, so much for spending this time with us and sharing your story. And, I look forward to your YouTube channel here soon and your book.
Yes.
And
How I Got Here.
That's what it's going to be called, How I Got Here.
You heard it first.
That's awesome.
Well, thanks for tuning in to the 7-part series. If you missed any of the parts, go and check them out. There's 6 other parts where my clients and I, Carlos, talk on different areas of co-parenting, including setting healthy boundaries and forgiveness and all kinds of good stuff. So maybe we'll see him again in the future, even if he is not on this program, which I hope he is. I know that you're going to see more of Carlos because he has big plans himself to help fathers in the future. So if you like the video, remember to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like us on Facebook. Remember to keep on trucking, and until next time, command the courtroom.